Oh, wow. Hey, much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. How you guys doing? Thanks for tuning in. Once again, appreciate you guys taking the time to do that. What you guys say we finished this book we've been reading? Very interesting book with many different topics on ancient America. As you guys see here, the book is called Mysteries of Ancient America, Uncovering the Forbidden. This is by Fritz Zimmerman. And we're going to try to see if we can finish it today. We've read all of the book, all right? And we're going to read some interesting topics here for the dismount of this book. And we begin with this topic right here. It says Mount Shasta, California Mystery Tour. And we got this image here. It says Mount Shasta is located in Northern California in Siskiyou County. The mountain is one of the largest volcanic peaks in North America. The mountain is the nexus of many strange tales of third-dimensional beings. Are you guys hear that? Of fairies called the Little People of Mount Shasta, and of Bigfoot entities. All right, you guys hear that? All of you enthusiasts. Many think these apparitions are benign entities, but we know from the book of Enoch, these spirits have their origin with the fallen angels. All right, many actually Native American traditions and even other stories relate the fairies, these ogres, these creatures as also parts of the fallen angels. If you guys didn't know that, the most infamous of these demonic prodigies are the Nephilim giants, who also may have had at one time a foothold on Mount Shasta. And doing the research for the Nephilim Chronicles Fallen Angels in the Ohio Valley, I came across a newspaper article about burial mounds that were described as being connected by a stone curb. The picture was poor, with very little detail, and left the site mainly to the imagination. After hours of searching on Google Earth, I finally found the mound site that has no precedent in North America. Sorry. And this image says, few details could be discerned from this grainy newspaper photo from the mid-70s. The origins of the burial mounds connected by a stone curb were unknown at this early date. Right? You guys see that? And then it says, after hours of searching on Google Earth, I located the burial mounds. It was not one, but two separate clusters of mounds, situated on a slight elevation. My only hypothesis is that they are part of a bigger story that was discovered in 1904. All right, here's a closer look. That's what he's talking about. There's two groups of these. Closer view from Google Earth of the larger Mount Pots, many different ones, right? Says the only clue to the builders of the mounds comes J.C. Brown, who in 1904 was employed with the Lord Cowdray Mining Company of London, England. He was hired to prospect for precious metals in this gold-bearing region. And while here, he ran onto a section of a rock in the face of a cliff, which didn't seem to match the surrounding formation. While examining this curious stone, he noticed it blocked the entrance to what appeared to be a cave. Brown, a geologist, thought the entire scene was unnatural and began to dig out the mouth of the cave, which was full of debris and vegetation. He began to see that it was not a small cave, and after much digging found himself in a tunnel which curved downward into the mountain. Equipped with lanterns and miner's paraphernalia, he set out to explore. 3 miles from the mouth of the tunnel, I struck a cross-section containing gold-bearing ore, and farther on, I struck another cross-section where an ancient race apparently had mined copper, he said later. He believed the other cross-sections outcropped on some other part of the mountain. The decline continued approximately 11 miles inside the mountain to where he found what he called the village blitz, where many rooms and chambers were found. The rooms were literally full of various plates, all inscribed neatly. The walls were lined with tempered copper and hung with shields and wall pieces made of gold. Some of the golden plates he found were engraved with certain drawings and hieroglyphics. Rooms opened into other chambers, one of which appeared to have been a place of worship. In addition, there were 13 statues made of copper and gold and a large sun design from which protruded golden streamers. The way the objects were strewn above, they had the feeling the occupants of the underground village had left on the spur of the moment. And then he came upon a macabre scene. In one chamber, he counted 27 skeletons, the smallest of which was 6'6". That was the smallest. Look, they were very tall people. And the largest stretching out more than 10 feet. Giants. It matches all the newspaper reports, right? 2 of the bodies were mummified, each clad in colorful, ornate robes. Wow. Brown spent many days exploring, studying the hieroglyphics, and indelibly imprinting them in his mind. He was excited about this great archaeological find and decided to leave the tunnel and its contents exactly as he had found them. He would return, he thought, but first he cleverly concealed the entrance of the tunnel. It marked on his map exactly where it was on the mountain. All right, and it says here, 80 Stocktonians left behind in search for lost continent. His followers hold all-night vigil for missing leader on trip to find weird cave. Wow. Disappearance of chief leaves group of local people is exiliated or affiliated in mysterious mission pondering. All right, so that means something happened. Because after telling of his incredible find, Brown disappears for 30 years. You guys hear that? In 1934, he returns to Stockton, California. He organizes an expedition of 80 people at his own expense to expose to the world his discovery. This is where the story ends, because J.C. Brown disappears without a trace, never to be seen nor heard of again. Is this all hokum? Like hokum pokum pocus? Are the mounds somehow connected to the ancient tunnels and tombs? Are the mounds for burials, or are they markers to direct ancient travelers to the subterranean village? They were not built on any ancient trail, but seem as if they were made to be seen from the air. From the air by whom? All right. And so we continue. It says here, burial mounds, paranormal activity, and close encounters. And it says here, Book of Enoch, chapter 15. The giants, who are produced from the spirits and flesh, shall be called evil spirits upon the earth. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies, because they are born from men and from the holy watchers, is their beginning and primal origin. And the spirits of the giants inflict, oppress, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth. And here's an image of a mound, right? You guys see? It says, are burial mounds the catalyst for paranormal activity? Ancient doorways to the beyond that remains open today? A correlational study of locations of paranormal television shows and the burial mounds of the Rephaim giants and concludes that there is a connection. The definition of Rephaim is that of the dead or evil spirits, this evil being begotten from the fallen angels who descended to earth and mated with the daughters of man. Contrary to the Christian belief that hell is a deep hole where cursed souls descend, the reality is that hell and all of its demons are right here on earth. This is elaborated in the book of Enoch, where it is clear that the evil spirits of the ancient giants reside here on earth. All right. So let's just read what he's saying, right? It says here, Book of Enoch, chapter 15. And now the giants who have been begotten from body and flesh will be called evil spirits on earth, and their dwelling places will be upon the earth. Number 9, evil spirits proceed from their bodies because they are created from above, their beginning and first basis being from the holy watchers. There will be evil spirits upon the earth and will be called evil spirits. 10. But the spirits of heaven have their dwelling places in heaven, and the spirits of the earth who were born on the earth have their dwelling places on earth. If evil spirits are present in the locations where the giants are buried, then the states of Ohio, Indiana, West Virginia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and New York should be the most haunted. I am going to conduct an experiment using two popular ghost hunting shows, Ghost Adventures and The Dead Files, to see if there is any correlation between the locations that they do paranormal investigations and number of giants reported in their respective states. The states that have burial mounds encircled by a ditch, sun temples called hanchas, and geometric earthworks where advanced mathematics and geometry were used in their construction is the main focus of the study because of the evidence that ties these giants with those in the British Isles. All right, with the ones in the what? British Isles. We went over there, and the biblical Levant, or biblical people. According to biblical texts, these would be the giants that would become the Shades, or Shades, when dead and whose spirits would be earthbound. These states, more specifically, would be Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New York. The vast majority of the giants' burials in these lands were within conical earthen mounds. The importance of the burial mound is that when it was constructed, it was seen as a portal that connected the living with the dead. In present day, these portals may be transgressed by the ancient giants, demons, or anything else that may want to pass. The hypothesis being that these would be the conduits resulting in this area being the most haunted in North America. All right, and here is a map. Okay, it says between the two shows, there were 225 locations where investigations took place. The dark stars represent where Ghost Adventures did paranormal investigations, and the light stars represent the Dead Files. Okay, this is what they're talking about right here, where they did their investigations. What is most evident is the number of investigations in California and Nevada. In the encyclopedia, I documented 43 giant skeletons discovered in California. This amount is only second to those found in the Midwest. However, one variable to consider is that California is where the production companies are based. Ghost Adventures is based out of Nevada. The type of investigation of these two shows is quite different. Ghost Adventures does the most common investigations trying to get EVPs or electronic voice phenomenon, plus video documentation. On the Dead Files, physical medium Amy Allen and retired NYPD homicide detective Steve Dischiavi combine their different skills to solve unexplained paranormal phenomena in haunted locations. Amy walks through the house and documents the dead people or demons while Dischiavi does research on the property. Their findings are surprisingly close. The focus area of the study being Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York, had 51 paranormal investigations, by far the most concentrated region of paranormal activity in North America. At one time, it was noted that Ohio had about 10,000 burial mounds, and Indiana around 5,000. If you Google most haunted places in America, Moundsville Prison is number one, all right, on numerous lists. Isn't it odd that this is also where the largest burial mound in the Ohio Valley is located? Each of these burial mounds acting as a portal connecting the living with the dead, or shadies. If you visit the many mounds and earthwork sites most prevalent in Ohio, Indiana, West Virginia, and Kentucky, you are truly walking the haunted grounds of the Rephaim, all right, of the giants. All right, you guys hear that? All right, so that was the end of one chapter or topic. There comes another one. All right, it says here, continuing, is the West Virginia's Mothman the demon Pazuzu? You hear that? This is the same mythological figure or character. And this has the picture, a statue of the Mothman at Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Is this really Pazuzu, king of the Mesopotamia's demons? Oh yeah, true old world, most likely it is. With clear ties between the Adena and the ancient Amorites, it is possible that who we call Mothman is a reincarnation of the Sumerian demon called Pazuzu. Pazuzu is the winged dog-faced creature that is most noted as being the idol they find at the beginning of the movie The Exorcist. Wow, I don't even want to be saying these names, man. There are Native American legends about a winged creature with a dog face, red eyes, and a serpent body that haunted the Ohio Valley. You guys hear that? So a dog-faced, red eyes, and serpent's body creature, winged creature, a haunted Ohio. This is very similar to modern sightings and description of the Mothman. The Native Americans called this creature Piasu. Oddly, Piasu is not recognized as a name or word that matches any known American Indian language. Native Americans never lived in the region around Point Pleasant, West Virginia, because they believed the area was haunted by strange creatures. And remember this, the Piazza. Remember, we got a video on this. All right, on the Piazza creature, giant, monster, dragon. Okay, it says this winged creature that was described as having red eyes was called the Piasu by the Native Americans who feared this creature that haunted the Ohio Valley. Okay, the Drakan. And then this image right here is the Mesopotamian Pazuzu, is a Sumerian deity who is very similar in appearance to the noted Mothman. Could this be the demon that haunts the Ohio River? And Pazuzu also had glowing red eyes and could fly at great speeds. All right, the Mothman, huh? Like the movie. The bridge disaster toll may reach 46, shocked at Pleasant seeking dead. That's a news report right there. Some believe that the Mothman sighting was a harbinger of disaster prior to the Point Pleasant Bridge collapse. And then it says here that Kanawha, or the river of evil spirits. The Kanawha was the Shawnee name for the great Kanawha. Several writers assert that it signifies river of the woods, but upon what authority does not appear. But good evidence exists showing that it meant river of evil spirits. Many of their canoes were lost on its rapids, and they believed that an evil spirit resided at the bottom which drew their frail crafts beneath the water. Hence the name, all right? There's a lot of famous rivers like that around the world that, they say are haunted, and they build this bridge and always something happens to people on the bridge or the bridge itself, It's continuing, it says here, encounter with a demon on a bluff overlooking the Kanawha River at Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Native Americans would not even inhabited West Virginia that today proudly displays a giant statue of a demon. They rely on the demon to bring in tourist dollars for their annual Mothman festival. Personally, you guys hear that? Personally, several years ago when I was photographing Mounds sites for the Nephilim Chronicles, a travel guide to the ancient ruins in the Ohio Valley, I stopped across the river from Point Pleasant at Gallipolis, Ohio, to photograph a burial mound that was reported in the city cemetery. All right, and here is an image. So we're going to get a description of this image right now. Okay, it says, at the Gallipolis Cemetery, looking north on the Ohio River towards the Point Pleasant and the mouth of the Kanawha River. So that's what we're just looking at right here. Okay. The cemetery was situated on a high bluff overlooking the Ohio River and the mouth of the Kanawha River. As I gazed upon the view, I snapped a photograph and immediately heard a voice in front of me say, "Nice evening, isn't it?" I looked behind me and saw I was the only person in the cemetery. All right, so you got ghosts talking to him, huh? I got in the car to leave and drove the short distance around the cemetery to the steep incline back down the hill when the steering wheel jerked hard to the left. Wow. I missed the drive and had to circle back around the cemetery. My thought was that I had hit a pothole that had pushed the wheel to the left. As I drove back around, I was looking ahead and saw no hole in the drive. And as I approached, the steering wheel began to turn to the left all on its own. Missing the exit again, I knew something was up. I got back to the exit, opened my door, placed my left foot on the ground, and walked the car to the exit and partially down the hill. When I had returned home, I told a friend about the experience, and he asked if I knew about the Mothman. I did not. He said there was a movie called The Mothman Prophecies, and I should rent it. Just a movie, right? Regardless, there is some serious paranormal activity in this location. Alright, Mothman. Now, this image says, I looked again at the photo I had taken overlooking the Ohio River and clearly saw a face. I presumed it is who asked, nice evening, isn't it? The demon spent the next 24 hours with me as I was traveling to the two known sun temples. You guys hear that? With a circumference of 666 feet in Charleston, West Virginia, and another near Richmond, Kentucky. When I got to my hotel in Charleston, the room was at least 20 degrees colder than the outside temperature, with no air conditioner on. After spending the night freezing, I checked out and gazed up at the car for the day's travels. Checking the oil, there was none. No apparent leakage on the pavement. It was a mystery, since the car had no history as an oil burner. The car cut in and out the entire distance to Kentucky, at one time only doing 30 miles per hour on I-75. Arriving at Richmond, the car would not make it up any of the hills, and I was for all practical purposes stranded 300 miles from home. I limped the car back to Richmond, gassed up with the plan I would run the car as far north as I could and then abandon it. I got in on I-75 and sped up to 70 miles per hour, waiting to start cutting out and eventually stop. I made it to Cincinnati with no incident, cut into Indiana and state roads where help would be easier found. The car never cut out again on this trip or ever. All right, and then it says here in this image, ancient Halloween feast for the dead at the Newark, Ohio Earthworks. All right, you guys hear that? What's going on? It says sunrise at the Newark Henge on May 28th. The sun has drifted north of the gateway that would have aligned on May 1st. The sun also aligns at sunset on October 31st. It says here the oldest religious festival of what we call Halloween can be found within the solar alignments of several of the ancient earthworks in the Ohio Valley. Two earthworks henges located at Newark, Ohio, and Anderson, Indiana, are aligned to the May 1st sunrise and the October 31st sunset. May 1st is the festival of life, whereas October 31st is the festival for the dead. All right, remember the 2 years, and the Celtic 2 years celebration. The ancient Irish called this day Samhain. That was celebrated from sunset, October 31st, to the sunset of November 1st. Samhain's definition, according to Wikipedia, was seen as a time when the door to the other world opened enough for the souls of the dead and other beings to come into our world. Feasts were had, at which the souls of the dead kin were beckoned to a tent and a place set at the table for them. It was thus been likened to a festival of the dead. People also took steps to protect themselves from the harmful spirits, which is thought to have led to the custom of guising. Divination was also done at Samhain. The celebration of a festival for the dead is more appropriate to civilizations like the mound builders who worship their ancestors. Those buried in earthen mounds in the British Isles and North America were not seen as individuals but a collective of the dead that could determine good or bad fortune for those who came to the mounds to pray. The priests would have been engaged in the art of divination to contact the spirits and the paranormal world during these festivals for the dead. Halloween was the time for the manifestation of all sorts of spirits, fairies, and ghosts, all of whom had liberty on that night. All right? You see this? So It says here, bird effigy. That's what they're showing right here in this image, a bird effigy. These are mounds, aerial view. Is located in the center of the interior circular platform of the henge. The effigy was constructed over a series of charnel houses. Charnel houses were constructed to store the bones of the dead. Friends and relatives could visit the charnel house to commune with the dead. At some point, the charnel house would be burned and an earthen mound erected over the top. And this says here, looking towards the west at the bird effigy in the center of the Newark henge. Right? That's what they're showing right here. In the previous, this image right here with the snow and the trees. The bird represents transition from one world to another. In this case, it might have been used to recall the spirits back to the earthwork on the eve of October 31st. All right. Now it says here, Moundsville Penitentiary, America's most haunted. Moundsville Penitentiary is rated the most haunted place in America by the Travel Channel. All right, you guys hear that? Did you know that? The prison was the home of cramped quarters, suicides, riots, and murders. Prisoners were executed by both the hangman and the electric chair. The tormented souls who ended here still linger and haunt the living. All right. Who knows what crazy things happened there, right? So as the Grave Creek Burial Mound, this is now what we're looking at the bottom, this image right here, this is the Grave Creek Burial Mound. It dwarfs the Moundsville State Prison in the background, all right? And the prison is right next to it. I didn't know that. Wow. The Grave Creek Burial Mound is the largest in the Ohio Valley. It was constructed to connect the living with the dead. It is this portal that makes this site America's most haunted. Now remember the Grave Creek stone that we've gone over, which had Paleo Hebrew they found inside this mound, and remember that giant skeletons that were found. I think they're going to talk about it a little bit right now. It says here, the giant king and queen buried within the Grave Creek mound. This is from the Charleston Daily Mail, October 22nd, 1922. And it says here, skeletons in mound. One of the most interesting of the 5 state parks is Mound Park at Moundsville, from which that city derived its name. Probably no other relic of prehistoric origin has attracted as wide study among archaeologists as the Grave Creek's mound, which has given up skeletons of the ancients who constructed it. Aside from the mammoth tumulus itself, 69 feet high and 900 feet in circumference, there were originally no fewer than 7 mounds situated in the broad plain at the point. None was nearly equal to the one now standing, and the locations of most of the smaller ones are now lost to all except in a few. Archaeologists investigating the mound some years ago dug out a skeleton said to be that of a female because of the formation of the bones. The skeleton was 7 feet 4 inches tall, and the jawbone would easily fit over the face of a man weighing 160 pounds. That the women of that ancient day were not unlike the women of today, and their liking for finery was evidenced by the articles that were found beside the skeleton of what centuries ago was a flapper. 1,700 ivory beads, 500 seashells of an involute species, and 5 copper bracelets were found in the vault. The beads and shells were about the neck and the breast of the skeleton, while the bracelets were upon the arms. There was also taken from the mound the skeleton of a man 8 feet tall. All right, an 8-foot tall skeleton. Grave Creek, right? There were no ornaments beside it. These skeletons were sent to the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, and that's why we never heard of this, because the Smithsonian hid all this stuff. All right, gatekept. It says here, Athens County, Ohio's dark shadows. There was no greater concentration of burial mounds, earthworks, and reports of giant skeletons in the U.S. than in the state of Ohio. All right, we've gone over a lot of that. We still are. And visiting and photographing these sites for the travel guide, I witnessed several paranormal activities in the form of shadow people and disembodied voices. One area in Ohio stands out as having the most residual energy, as if it being enveloped in a dark cloud of depression. is in Athens County. It is coincidence that it is also the poorest county in Ohio. Athens County has the most historical accounts of giant skeletons, along with the most extant burial mounds that I photographed for the travel guide. Right? And so here's some example. I guess some of these mounds or a house built on these mounds. Right? You guys see that? It says large burial mound in Athens County, Ohio, with a house constructed on its top. Is this a site of angry spirits and paranormal activity? Come on. They built their house on top of a burial ground. Can you imagine? As a little research unveiled the horrific truth about the county and the city of Athens that confirmed my intuitions about the haunted nature of these lands. Top10s.com rated the city Athens, Ohio as the 8th most haunted place in America. USA Today ranked Athens as the 7th most haunted place in America. Listverse.com listed Athens, Ohio as the 7th most haunted place in the world. And the British Society for Physical or Psychical Research ranked it at the 13th most haunted place in the world. The paranormal began early in Athens County, where in the 1850s spiritualism became popular in America, and no more so than in Millfield Township in Athens County. A man called Jonathan Coons claimed that he and all of his 9 children had the gift to contact spirits. The spirits instructed him to construct a special room where the spirits would manifest. People were traveling long distances from the east and across Ohio to hold seances with Coons. During the seances, people would experience being touched by a cold hand, voices, and music. Several of the churches in the area closed because of drop in attendance due to their new allegiance to the ghostly spirit world. Wow. And here's another image, another house built over a mound, as you guys hear here. Okay? Wow. They don't know the whole history, but they built the whole house over it, right? It says old federal style house in Millfield, dating to the time of the Coons family spiritualist. A burial mound is in the side yard, where the portals of the mounds used to contact the dead, alright? It says there has been a history of the occult associated with the Athens for years. 5 of the earliest cemeteries in the city of Athens, if drawn out on a map, from a pentagram or form a pentagram. Was the pentagram protection from those spirits associated with the occult? Was it used to protect the dead from the evil spirits that roam the county? Alright, questions. It says 5 of Athens, Ohio's earliest cemeteries were laid out to form a pentagram. Wow. Did you know that? Burial mounds were constructed and venerated as doorways that connected the living with the dead. The problem with an open door is that you never know who might be coming through it. Is there a connection between Athens having the most burial mounds, giant skeletal remains, spiritualism as the catalyst to be Ohio's most haunted? Burial mounds and close encounters. So this is the bright orange spear of light that raced across the skies, stopped, and slowly disappeared. As in October 2011, I was invited to speak at the Vortex conference in Burlington, Wisconsin. I rode up with my friend and fellow author Rick Osman. What seemed to be the routine weekend speaking engagement would leave us pretty awestruck and shaken from our close encounter. Alright, so what is this, huh? This light in the sky? Or is that a Dracan? Or what is it really? Speakers for the conference were a mix of authors doing presentations on ancient history and UFOs. Noted UFO author and speaker Stanton Friedman was attending along with Don Schmidt, who is known for his books and research on the Roswell crash. The conference was held in the lobby and restaurant of an old hotel in downtown Burlington. John F. Kennedy used to frequent the cafe in the lobby when visiting his sister, who was placed in a mental institution nearby. Wow. The restaurant was decorated with hundreds of UFO items and gifts. What? John F. Kennedy? Sister, huh? In a mental institute. So this image down here says Don Schmidt, Stanton Friedman, and Rick Osman photographed at the Vortex conference in 2011. My itinerary was to speak Saturday morning and then take a group to a nearby park dubbed the Vortex Woods. because of reports of paranormal activity. The host of the conference was convinced that there were burial mounds out there, so I was taking a group of conference attendees to investigate. Turned out there were several stone and earthen burial mounds on the high ground that overlooked an ancient lake. The host was delighted to inform me that we would be returning that evening to take part in the Vortex Woods haunted tour. As evening approached, the UFO authors wanted no part in stumbling through the woods with 30 other people on this cold Wisconsin night. I wasn't thrilled about the tour, but as people gathered, I was hearing some pretty incredible tales of the supernatural occurring in those woods. The tour began by leaving peanut M&Ms for the woods fairies. The long line of attendants would stop about every 100 foot to hear about portals and other cosmic attractions within the woods. A total cosmic groovy tour. Yikes. Frozen, we finally get the end of the tour in a clearing in the woods. We were together in a circle for one last kumbaya moment and then back to the car and warmth. However, this was interrupted by someone who screeched that there was a strange light in the black and cloudless sky. I immediately got clear of the 3 trees where I witnessed an orange ball of light streaking across the sky toward us from the east. The reddish orange light then abruptly stops overhead. If I was to guess, I would estimate it to be about 30,000 feet up and massive. It remained in this spot for about a minute and then slowly started to fade away, and then poof, it was gone. Poof, leaving us all looking into the black starry sky. Everyone was strangely quiet for just long enough to where another one of these orange balls was seen streaking across the sky towards us, following the same path as the last. Again, this orange ball stopped in the exact same place in the sky and then slowly dissolved. The gathered crowd was mixed with those who were stunned, others praying, and some welcoming the UFO. I was amazed and a bit terrified. Your first response is to rationalize it, but there was no explanation for what we just witnessed. Standing next to me was a reporter from the Milwaukee newspaper who had just videotaped the UFO. He was equally disturbed, shaking his head, trying to figure out what we had just witnessed. I researched YouTube to see if anyone else had seen anything like we witnessed. I couldn't believe that there were others that had seen the exact same thing, not only the orange ball, but how it stopped in the sky and then slowly disappeared. Skeptics' first response is that we say Chinese lanterns. No, I assure you they weren't. This account is also from Burlington, Wisconsin, that was recorded 1 year after my encounter. There also was 2 spears that shrank from the sky. Followed are several accounts described on YouTube of the same orange spears. So from Burlington, Wisconsin, uploaded on November 21st, 2012. Says I recorded these over my house near Burlington, Wisconsin last night at 8:07 p.m. I hung up the call. My dad and one slowly flickered and shrank in size until it disappeared. About 5 seconds later, the second one did the same thing. I didn't record that part as I was talking to my dad, who also saw the objects along with my brother and his wife from a different location about a quarter mile away. On the phone that I used to record the video, my 2 kids saw them as well, not sure what to make of them. And it says here, Louisville, Kentucky, uploaded on July 5th, 2010. On July 4th, 2010, in Louisville, Kentucky, while watching fireworks outside my home, I spotted this orange glowing basketball-shaped object in the sky. It was moving from the south to the north. It made no noise. What is it? It says here from Meridian, Connecticut, uploaded June 12, 2011. Original, then stabilized footage of orange glowing orb I saw in the sky on the home while driving on the highway. It was very bright and was not moving. After pulling over and shooting this clip, I watched it fade out and disappear completely. And that's from England. Wow. Uploaded on April 3rd, 2010. These orange orbs were seen flying over England this is the England one, 10:30 p.m. on 2nd April 2010. There were 8 orbs in total and flew to a point where they then disappeared. They were silent and about the size of a plane, maybe even bigger. Numerous people seeing the same orange globe streaking across the sky, stopping and then slowly fading away. What was it? The strange event or events that were to happen the next day may be evidence that this was a close encounter. All right. And it says here, continuing, lost time and space. Lost time and space. We got a image here over what seems to be near Valparaiso, Indiana. And there's a power plant here. So this is a map of our route from eastbound on SR6 to south on SR49 to US 30, a short leg to the trip that should have taken 10 minutes. After turning on the SR49, the first landmark that we saw was the power plant 20 miles distant. The land is flat around the southern tip of Lake Michigan, and as you can see from the map, the roads are perfectly straight. It says here, Sunday, October 30th, Rick Osmond and I are heading back to Fort Wayne from the Vortex Conference in Burlington, Wisconsin, a 5-hour trip. After getting around Chicago, we are heading east on Indiana State Road 6. Then we are going to go south on SR 49, a few miles to US 30 that goes through Fort Wayne. We turn south on the SR 49, where we figured to hit US 30 in about 10 miles. The actual miles to 30 was 7. We were well out of the Chicago lights, and the sky was the usual rural Indiana black. After what felt like a couple of miles, about a half mile to the east of us was this massive power plant, with huge stacks bellowing out white smoke and steam. We drove about 5 miles past that, and I remember telling Rick that we should have crossed US 30 by now. He agreed. Then I noticed from the clock in the truck that it had been almost an hour since we turned off to SR 49. We drove another 5 miles and hit SR 114, which is a central Indiana east-west road. So we knew that somehow we had got ourselves so far south, or too far south, so we turned around and started heading back north on SR 49. All right, and there's an image here of the power plant they're talking about, right? And so here's where it gets really weird. Heading back around SR 49, both of us can't quite figure out how an hour has gone by since turning south onto the SR 49. But you're pretty worn out at the end of these events, so chalk it up to that. Heading back north, we passed the power plant, and then 15 minutes later, before hitting the exit onto 30, we passed the Porter County Airport, with a field of blue runway lights. We never got off 49. Tired, yes, but we are not going to miss a half mile of blue lights and an airport along with major highway exit in Cloverleaf. We simply never passed these locations, all right? So they're having like a paradox moment, right? It's like a movie, like those weird stories. Hey, we lost track of time and space. Like we didn't even cross these places. We didn't get off these routes. What's going on? As a sea of blue lights from the Porter County, Indiana airport is on the west side of the SR 49, only 100 yards from our exit to US 30 East. We had no recollection of ever seeing this or the highly illuminated cloverleaf of US 30. Finally heading east on US 30, we were both a bit shaken. Osmond is Air Force. Just the facts, ma'am, kind of guy, believes in nothing, no ghosts, no UFOs, none of it. He can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. What just happened? Somewhere about 17 miles of road disappeared in about 60 minutes. Not like we were lost. We were on SR 49 both there and back, past the power plant each way. Is this connected to UFO from the day before? Were we really in the vortex woods where time and space are bent? More questions than answers. And that's your scary tale, ladies and gentlemen. That would have made a good episode, right? In some show. All right. And so, guys, we've actually reached the end of this book, believe it or not. We read all these chapters right here. We did a lot of good reading. We pulled out a lot of babies, a lot of jewels, and we dodged a lot of hijack. But we have a part of volume 2 where we're gonna get into as well. I'm just happy we read another book. We've pat yourself on the back. How many books is that, right? That we've read together. This book again was Mysteries of Ancient America, Uncovering the Forbidden. All right, a little on the paranormal side today, right? These last few chapters, but we've dug out a lot of good information on ancient America in this book. Again, we're gonna come back with volume 2 of the same series by the same author. We're gonna be reviewing different chapters and topics. Make sure to get these books again. If you like them, they're available on Kindle or even paperback. Some of them are covered. Make sure to if you want it, you get it. I don't own this. Fair use. This is for education. Commentary and critiquing. But I appreciate you guys finishing the book with me and actually reading the whole book with me. That was fun. Mysteries of Ancient America. Are these mounds really portals? Could they be related to the hauntings? That makes sense to me. You know, could these mounds, these burials, these desecrated history, these people that they have forgotten, built over, you know, could they be haunting or causing haunts to happen? You know, hey, something to think about. Thanks for taking the time to be here today. I'll give you your day back and pat yourself on the back again. You've read another book. Yeah, good job. Good job. Much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Hawaii.